I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. No need for Sivakumar to go on leave, says Prime Minister. And Malaysia to review compensation settlement deal with Goldman Sachs. Good morning. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says there is no need for Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar to go on garden leave over an ongoing graft probe that has seen the latter summoned by the authorities. The Prime Minister said Sivakumar had only been summoned to give his statement to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC, adding that it would be inappropriate to speculate on the case.
Jadi kita kena bezakan siasatan itu dalam proses. Itu serah pada SPRM. Kemudian kalau tidak ada penawar, tak ada apa-apa. Kalau ada penawar, itu soal lain lah. Ya. Jadi bagi saya kita tak boleh buat telahan awal. Tapi apa dia prinsip yang penting di sini? Bahawa dalam soal tata kelola, bantras rasuah, kita tegas dan tidak peduli dia menyinggung siapa, dari sosok mana, dari parti mana.
The probe on Sivakumar came as the Prime Minister repeated the pledge to eradicate corruption within the government. Speaking to the media after an event in the federal capital, Datuk Seri Anwar said he submitted the investigation to the MACC completely. The DAP, meantime, also shared the Prime Minister's views. Sivakumar is also one of the party's 3 Deputy Secretaries General.
As far as we are concerned, he's not a suspect in this case. He is just giving his cooperation. So at this point of time, we will still observe the development. So there is no instruction from the PM for him to take leave at this point of time.
When met by the media, Sivakumar denied news reports that his residence was raided by the MACC for investigation. The Batu Gajah MP reiterated his statement and that his ministry is ready to provide all cooperation to the MACC to assist the investigation.
Ini masih dalam proses siasatan dan kalau apa-apa kita akan bagi kerjasama yang penuh. Okey? Itu saja. No, I was not arrested. No, I arrested. Just to give statement. So saya dah kata saya akan bagi kerjasama, saya akan bagi kerjasama.
Earlier in the day, it was reported that the MACC raided Sivakumar's office and residence on Saturday to complete an investigation into allegations of receiving money worth millions of ringgit through middlemen as a guarantee to continue government contracts against certain individuals. Meanwhile, Sivakumar's 2 senior officers remanded to assist in the probe were reported to have been released. This was confirmed by MACC sources after the remand order ended on Monday. Also released is the third person, a businessman. On April 12th, a senior officer and the businessman, aged between 40 and 50, were arrested. The 2 were remanded for 6 days. A senior officer believed to be holding the post of a private secretary was later arrested after being called up for her statement to be recorded. She was remanded for 4 days. The Special Task Force on One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB is now focusing its efforts on reviewing the settlement deal between Goldman Sachs and the previous Perikatan Nasional PN-led government. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said while the previous government wanted to settle with a lower amount, his government is firm on the matter.
Masalah dengan itu, Saudara Jugani sedang tumpu dan dalam maklumat awal nampak dia masih berpandangan bahawa harus dirongkai semula perjanjian dengan Goldman Sachs. Saya setuju kerana daripada awal saya anggap ini dibuat secara gopoh-gapah, maka dia timbulkan banyak persoalan.
Datuk Seri Anwar, who's also the finance minister, said this in response to a question on the latest developments of the task force set up last month. It was reported that Goldman Sachs had paid 11 billion ringgit and guaranteed the return of 6.1 billion ringgit in seized 1MDB assets to the Malaysian government in 2020 as part of a settlement reached after several years of negotiations initiated by the first Pakatan Harapan government and later continued by the succeeding PN government under then Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah advised the government to be prepared to bring home Malaysians in Sudan if the conflict in the country worsens. The king also called on all Malaysians to pray for the safety and well-being of their fellow countrymen in Sudan following the current crisis in the country. In Istana Negara's social media post on Monday, Al-Sultan Abdullah called on all mosques to organise Solat Hajat and Doa Selamat to pray to Allah to protect Malaysians in Sudan and for the tensions in the country to subside soon. The conflict in Sudan, which involves the Sudanese Armed Forces and Rapid Support Forces (RSF), has sparked political turmoil and threatened security in the country. Wisma Putra has launched a 24-hour operations room to closely monitor the current situation in the country. So far, 29 registered Malaysians in Sudan, mostly students, are accounted for and confirmed safe.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government is closely monitoring the conflict in Sudan. He said Malaysians in Sudan will be brought home if the situation escalates and poses a risk to their safety.
Kita masih pantau, saya dapat laporan maklumat tadi pagi dan kita masih lagi rasa keadaan untuk rakyat Malaysia terkawal, tapi sebaik saja kita rasa ada risiko, kita akan bawa mereka pulang.
The forces of rival generals battling for control of Sudan clashed for a third day on Monday in the capital Khartoum as one of Africa's largest nations descended deeper into violence. From early on Monday, bombardments and airstrikes were heard in Khartoum for around 2 hours before the heavy strikes abated, but artillery fire continued. As of Monday, at least 97 people have been killed, with the World Health Organization estimating more than 1,126 others injured. Clashes have also spread to other parts of Sudan, with water and power cuts affecting health facilities and shortages of fuel for hospital generators also disrupting the communities. For decades, Sudan has suffered under the yoke of dictatorship, coups and political instability, with successive governments overseeing widespread repression and genocidal violence. Now, for those of you travelling back to your hometowns to celebrate Hari Raya Aidilfitri, here's a message from the Road Transport Department. There are 7 traffic offences that will not be compoundable. Those who flout the rules in the period from April 18th to 27th will be immediately referred to the courts. Now, let's take a quick look at the 7 offences. The government has agreed in principle with Sarawak's plan to set up a boutique airline under the state government. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the proposal will be discussed by the Cabinet when it meets on Wednesday.
Saya tidak rasa tidak ada sebab mengapa kita tidak boleh bersetuju, kerana sudah dibuktikan dan Menteri Pengangkutan Anthony Loke telah buat beberapa perundingan dengan syarikat penerbangan minta dikurangkan kos. Kerana ini dalam semangat perpaduan dan semangat hubungan persekutuan dengan negeri, itu di antara yang mendesak adalah hubungan di antara rakyat. Dengan kos yang begini meningkat, tidak mungkin perkara ini tercapai dengan memuaskan.
The Prime Minister said this at the official opening of Raya Hotel and Convention Centre Kuching in Sarawak on Monday. He was giving an immediate response to Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, who had earlier raised the proposal in his speech on establishing a state-owned boutique airline that aims to stabilise airfare prices between the peninsula and Sarawak and Sabah. He said the boutique airline would be set up as a commercial wing under Hornbill Skyways, the state-owned airline company.
Consumers need to check prices and purchase tickets through official apps provided by airlines to avoid buying tickets at high prices, especially during festive periods. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said that ticket prices would be different if they were purchased using other apps.
Issuing the same advice to former Transport Minister Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong, Lok wondered why Datuk Sri Wee chose to only check airfares from Kuala Lumpur to Tawau for Malaysia Airlines on an Air Asia app, and why the same process was carried out during a recheck, despite having 3 of his aides assist in also checking the prices using 3 separate mobile phones. Datuk Sri Wee had claimed on Sunday that airfare from Kuala Lumpur to Tawau for April 20th had exceeded 3,138 ringgit for an economy class seat.
Mantan Menteri takkan dah tak tahu bahawa Malaysia Airlines ada aplikasinya sendiri. Kalau check mas punya tiket, mengapa pakai AirAsia punya apps? Ini macam nak beli KFC pergi McDonald. Tak masuk akal. Jadi yang pertama itu yang saya nak perjelaskan. Kalau Mantan Menteri ada membuat sedikit langkah seterusnya, cek dengan aplikasi lain, jawapannya akan diterima itu jauh berlainan. Jadi itu yang saya berharap bahawa Yang Berhormat Wee Ka Siong tidak mengeluarkan kenyataan yang mengelirukan orang ramai.
Lok said 80% of MAS flight tickets for Kuala Lumpur to Tawau were sold under 841 ringgit for the period between April 19th to 25th, adding that airlines will offer special prices during festive periods to allow Malaysians to travel home. The Transport Minister also revealed that Malaysia Airlines is seeking an injunction to stop the AirAsia Super app from offering the national carrier's flight tickets for sale, as Malaysia Airlines has never authorised the AirAsia Super app to sell their tickets on their behalf. He said that the request for an injunction had been filed with the courts and the case will be heard in the coming months.
The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry has given its assurance that the quota allocation for subsidised cooking oil will remain at 60,000 metric tonnes per month. Its Minister Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub said the quota remains in place as per the decision of the Cabinet.
Datuk Sri Salahuddin was commenting on proposals to lower the quota allocation for subsidised cooking oil to 40,000 metric tonnes per month from the current 60,000 metric tonnes. The proposal was made following claims that the existing quota could not be met by packaging companies, which may then cause a shortage of supply in the market.
Kita telah dapat membuat satu keputusan setakat ini, itu kita kekal dengan kota 60,000 sebulan. Dan kita pun pernah dan cuba untuk meningkatkan lagi kota itu, ya, tapi masih lagi menunggu jawapan daripada pihak MOF.
The minister said this when met by reporters after the launch of the Rahmah sales program in Besut, Terengganu.
When we come back, 4 dead, several injured at Dadeville birthday party shooting. Stay with us. The foreign news now. In Japan, suspected gunpowder has been found at the home of a man accused of throwing an explosive at Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida during a campaign event. Following the incident, police spent over 8 hours on Sunday searching the home of the man, who has been named as 24-year-old Ryuji Kimura. And local residents were temporarily evacuated over the threat of explosives. It was reported that suspected gunpowder, as well as pipe-like objects and tools, were found at the home, and investigators now believe the explosive thrown thrown at the event was homemade. The suspect is currently under arrest on suspicion of obstruction of business. Kishida, however, was unharmed in the attack, in which a suspected pipe bomb was tossed towards him at a port in western Japan's Wakayama shortly before he gave a speech on Saturday. The attack on Kishida came less than a year after former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe died in a fatal gunshot committed by a gunman during a speech in the western city of Nara when campaigning for the upper house election. South Korea, the United States and Japan staged joint naval missile defense exercises on Monday in a push to improve security cooperation and respond better to North Korea's evolving missile threats. Monday's drills in international waters between Korea and Japan bring together South Korea's 7,600-ton Aegis destroyer Yuryok-Yi-1, the U.S.-guided missile destroyer Benfold, and Japan's Atago destroyer, also equipped with Aegis radar systems. The three nations agreed at talks in Washington on Friday to hold regular missile defense and anti-submarine exercises in their efforts to boost diplomatic and military cooperation. North Korea tested a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile on Friday that experts say would ease the way for missile launches with little warning, part of an increase in its military activities in recent weeks. 4 people were killed and 28 others were injured, some critically, in a shooting at a birthday party on Saturday night in the city of Dadeville, U.S. The attack took place at the Mahogany Masterpiece dance studio just after 10:30 p.m. local time as people gathered for a Sweet 16 celebration before a gunman barged in and opened fire. By Sunday evening, authorities have yet to release details on a suspect or possible motive and have not revealed what led up to the shooting. Investigations into the shooting are still ongoing. This shooting takes the U.S. to a grim milestone of more than 160 mass shootings in which 4 or more people are shot so far this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive. 11 people died of heat stroke in India's Maharashtra state after an estimated 1 million spectators waited for hours in the sun at a government-sponsored awards ceremony on Sunday. The event, with thousands of attendees, took place in open ground under the blazing sun and lasted for several hours to felicitate a prominent social activist. Around 20 people were hospitalized and 300 fell ill at the event when temperatures hit close to 38 degrees Celsius with high levels of humidity. The opposition Congress Party accused the government of negligence and said it should face criminal charges. The office of Maharashtra State Chief Minister Eknath Shinde described it as a sad and disturbing incident and promised compensation for the victims' relatives. Heat waves have killed more than 6,500 people in India since 2010, and last year saw record temperatures in several cities across the country. Back with sports now. Alex Rins won the Grand Prix of the Americas in Austin on Sunday after MotoGP world champion Francesco Pecco Bagnaia crashed while leading from pole position.
The Spaniard's surprise victory on a clear afternoon in Texas was a first for his LCR Honda team since Britain's Cal Crutchlow in Argentina in 2018. In a replica of the Saturday sprint, Bagnaia and Rins battled for the lead on the opening lap. But this time there was no shaking off the Spaniard, who sunk his teeth into the factory Ducati. The pressure paid off when Bagnaia crashed out of the lead at turn 2 on lap 8 of 20. Italian Luca Marini, MotoGP great Valentino Rossi's half-brother, was second for the VR46 Ducati team. And France's 2021 world champion Fabio Quartararo completed the podium on a Yamaha. VR46's Marco Bezzecchi finished 6th to stretch his championship lead to 11 points over fellow Italian Bagnaia after 3 rounds.
On to tennis now. Andrei Rublev made the most of Holger Rune's nerves to win a seesaw Monte Carlo final 5-7, 6-2, 7-5 on Sunday, as the Russian's talent was finally rewarded with a Masters title.
The fifth seed stayed composed when it mattered to eventually run down his 19-year-old opponent and claim the most prestigious title of his career. Rune, the youngest Monte Carlo finalist after Rafael Nadal in 2005, opened a 4-2 lead in the first set on his second opportunity to break, only for an unforced forehand error to allow Rublev to break fight back. The Russian, however, bowed under pressure in the 7th game as he sent a forehand long to lose his second service game and give Rune the opening set. Rublev, 25, was 4-1 down in the decider, but ground his way back into the contest to prevail on his second match point with an ace at a sun-drenched Monte Carlo country club. It was Rublev's third attempt in a Masters final after failing at the final hurdle here in Monte Carlo and in Cincinnati in 2021.
Contraband cigarettes worth 1.24 million ringgit seized in Muar. The details when we come back.
Bak haruman
Thanks for staying with us in Nightline. In Johor, police arrested a local man and seized 1.2 million sticks of white and clove cigarettes worth 1.24 million ringgit, believed to have been smuggled during a raid at a house in Jalan Naib Kadir, Bukit Pasir last Friday. Muar District Police Chief ACP Rais Mukhlis Azman Aziz said, acting on intelligence and surveillance that was carried out for 4 weeks, the 54-year-old man was arrested at 2:30 p.m.
Following the raid, police seized 118 large packages of various brands of cigarettes comprising 4,000 cartons, a car, 2 mobile phones and 1,699 ringgit in cash. During the raid, the man was arranging the cigarettes in the house that he had rented, and it was believed that the cigarettes were to be marketed around the area. The duty and tax not paid cigarettes seized was the biggest seizure for the year. The modus operandi was to use the rented house as a collection centre before distributing the cigarettes to customers. Preliminary investigations revealed that the man did not have a permanent job and began to engage in the sale of contraband cigarettes last year and had no previous records related to crime or drugs. The case is being investigated under the Customs Act 1967.
Also in Johor, a lorry driver was fined 30,000 ringgit by the Johor Bahru Sessions Court to a charge of misappropriating subsidised diesel without a licence last year. The accused, 32-year-old Mu Yit Lim, pleaded guilty after the charge was read out to him before Judge Datuk Cik Wan Zaidi Cik Wan Ibrahim.
Mu was accused of possessing controlled items, namely 1,450 litres of diesel in a lorry. The offence was committed at Taman Setia Indah on July 27, 2022. He was charged under the Control of Supplies Regulations 1974 and the Control of Supplies Act 1961 for dealing with scheduled controlled goods, wholesale or retail, without a licence. Mu was arrested in a police raid where an inspection found the 2 plastic barrels of suspected diesel in the back of the lorry. A body check on him revealed 22 receipts for the purchase of diesel from various gas stations, totaling 4,300 ringgit. The man also failed to show police any license or permit to store and deal with diesel fuel. The court then ordered that the lorry and the remaining diesel, worth 3,480 ringgit in the lorry, be forfeited.
In Labuan, police arrested a driver after a video clip showing him assaulting another driver on the road near the traffic lights along Jalan Patau-Patau on April 12 went viral. Its District Police Chief Superintendent Ahmad Jawila said the 22-year-old suspect was arrested after the victim came forward and lodged a police report immediately after the incident.
The 45-second viral video shows how the incident started. The suspect alighted from his car and proceeded to punch the victim in the face several times. It was believed that the suspect lost his temper when the victim honked at him for not using the indicator when switching lanes. Due to this, the victim sustained injuries and bleeding to his chin, nose, and he also experienced pain in his eyes, apart from his vehicle being damaged. Police then picked up the suspect at about 3:45 p.m. Probes into the incident is underway.
In Johor, 2 Indonesian men were sentenced to 8 months in jail each by the Kulai Magistrates Court for escaping from the custody of authorities last Tuesday. Ricky Rinaldi and Haji Samiruddin, aged 40 and 36 respectively, pleaded guilty to the charge before Magistrate Azurin Sahira Saufia Fandi.
The judge ordered both of them to serve their jail sentences from the date of their arrests, namely April 11th and 12th respectively. The duo were charged with intentionally escaping from the custody of the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, which had detained them legally under the Immigration Act. The offence was committed on April 11th. The charge under the Penal Code carries a jail term of up to 2 years or a fine or both upon conviction. On Wednesday, Ricky and Haji reportedly freed themselves from their handcuffs, kicked open the van's back door, jumped out and ran off into a palm oil estate. The men were then found in 2 separate locations at Jalan Felda Inas Kulai 24 hours later.
And almost 14,000 performances, the curtain falls for the final time on the longest-running Broadway show in history, The Phantom of the Opera. As we wrap up, let's take a look at the cast. Composer Andrew Lloyd Webber and producer Cameron McIntosh receive a standing ovation at the end of the final performance. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching and selamat bersahur.